Tara. There we go. It's all yours,
Well,
Tara.
good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. First of all, I'll talk about SHP, or Single Homeless Projects, the charity that I work for. We've been a charity for 48 years. We're a London-only charity. We were founded by homeless people, and about 20% of the work we do is supported accommodation. We have over 90 hostels across London. But 80% of the work is working in the community, people that are in social housing, helping them sustain that tenancy, and also housing prisoners and getting them jobs. Anything to do with homelessness, we're involved in some way. We support about 10,000 people a year. So let's talk a little bit about me. I'm an ex-Navy and police background, did 27 years altogether. I kind of fell into the charity sector when I got a bit disillusioned with uniforms. I started 8 years ago as a volunteer, and then decided to make my career in the sector, and was working as the activities and education coordinator for our young people's services. I literally fell into fundraising. I'd been fundraising myself to take young people on trips and things like that. But we actually had a fundraising manager start 6 years ago, and she was looking for an assistant, and my name kept coming up, so I was asked to apply, and I applied and I got the job. I'm quite organised, methodical, and solution focused. So I kind of thought, yeah, I'll have a go. Now, what I've done is I've really not reinvented the wheel in any way, shape, or form when it comes to corporate partnerships or corporate volunteering. I've just pitched and marketed a good idea that already existed and tweaked it and stood by my guns. If you don't pay, you ain't volunteering. At the beginning, when I first started, SHP had never had a corporate or fundraising team. So it was very crucial for us to get the engagement and companies to get to know us. And then over time, that has built the partnerships. Before I go into how I started it, just to say that in the first year, when I started, they had one corporate partner that was giving £10,000 a year towards our art programme. By the end of that year, we had 9 partnerships after I started, and 12 supporters. And supporters are those that get involved. They might volunteer, they might get involved in campaigns, do a bit of fundraising, but they don't want to commit to a partnership. So now we have just over 45 partners. It's changing all the time. We had another 3 new partners came on board last week, and probably that again in regular supporters that get very much involved. Now, our Christmas campaign is our biggest campaign. In our first year, we raised 42,000. That was just the 2 of us, me and my boss, the manager at the time. She's now the head of fundraising. I'm her right-hand woman, I suppose. I'm next down. And then we have a team now of 6 others. And last year we raised 1.4 million for that campaign. So we've increased revenue by 696% in 6 years. And that's all to do with corporate volunteering and building those partnerships. So when I started as the corporate partnerships coordinator, like I said, I was the first ever fundraiser. There was me and my boss. And the CEO said to us, "Do you really think that companies are going to give us money?" That's how, like, SHP just didn't ever think that corporates could be involved. So we had no brand awareness. Nobody had ever heard of SHP. We'd been in London for 48 years, but, you know, they just hadn't, we weren't good at shouting about what we did. No, you know, unlike St. Mungo's, Crisis, all of those. So SHP also is not like other charities. We don't rely on volunteers. A lot of our work is through local government contracts. And due to the vulnerability of a lot of our the people that we work with, our service users, they want people to be there more permanently, and they SHP this is, and they, due to the turnover of staff as well, they can't commit regularly to volunteers. So it's never been a real big thing at SHP. So when I started pitching for partnerships, it became clear to me that companies wanted something from us as well. I mean, I've spoken to people that have been in corporate fundraising for years, and they used to tell me, like, in the good old days, they just gave you the money and that was it. They didn't want anything for it. But now they want something. So I needed to find out what more they wanted. So did lots of research around that. So I asked the partners that we had already, you know, questions around, you know, what is it they expect from a charity? I asked our services, what were their expectations, you know, for volunteers coming in for a day or whatever. And did so much research on other homeless charities and also other charities to see what they were doing. Were they charging? Were they, you know, for corporate volunteering? Were they, what else were they doing with their corporates? So the results that the corporates wanted was definitely engagement via volunteering. So many companies now have, you know, 2 to 4 volunteer days a year for each of their staff members, and they're really keen for them to use them. Some let them just choose their own, and some like to, they'll have a CSR or ESG manager, and they like to book them as team building days and things like that. They also want pro bono work because they want to give their skills back. And they also need to feel that they're actually making a difference. They just don't want to volunteer for the sake of volunteering. They want to feel like at the end of that day or those few hours that they've made a difference. They also want challenge events, things like, you know, the London Marathon, Swim Serpentine, all those things. And fun fundraising events like bake-offs and quizzes and things like that. But they also want to get involved in campaigns. So like I say, our biggest is Christmas, but then there's International Women's Day, all of these other things. So it's getting them involved in that as well. So it was lots to think about and lots to organise. So I already knew now that they wanted to help. So how was I going to channel that to our services who really don't want their help? Which was really weird to me that, you know, I had to literally sell it to our hostels. You know, this is going to make it nicer here, you know. But I also had to listen to what they were saying. You know, this is people's homes that they're coming into. We need to respect that. We don't want like lots of noise, lots of disturbance. So it had to be achieved in one day. They didn't want like a whole week of volunteering or whatever. So, but also it was really important, I think, to add the value to the service. So it had to be something that they wanted. There's no point me just going in and saying, oh, I'm going to paint your corridor today, but they don't want their corridor painting. Do you know what I mean? So I had to make sure that it was more collaborative. but also meet their expectations. Because as soon as they know that money's involved, they suddenly get interested, right? And, you know, they want this, they want that, they want a new TV, they want, you know, new furniture, you know. So it's about saying, look, I've only got this amount of money. The most important thing is buying the equipment and material. If I can buy anything after, I will. Yeah. So it's just about managing that. But like I say, it's really, really important that you collaborate with the hostel or with the service that you've got, to make sure that they are involved in it. Because if they're involved in it, they're invested in it. So if they're choosing the colours that you're going to paint the wall, if they're choosing the furniture you're going to put in their garden, you know, they want you to be there, and they'll make you a cup of tea. Do you know what I mean? So it's a much better thing to do. So with over 90 hostels, I think we've got 96 at the minute. It changes all the time. There's so much work to be done, and it's constant, because after I've done, you know, a year of like one area, then the next ones are ready, you know, so it's constantly going over. So I used a lot of my past experiences. I've done lots of leadership courses throughout my career, and team building exercises and things like that. So I kind of based it around that, as in a day, and trying to make it fun. So I thought, if they're volunteering, they don't want to do 9 to 5. They probably want to come in a bit later and finish a bit earlier. So I did it from 10 till 4. And it works. It's nice, but you have to tell them to get there 15 minutes before, because you know what it's like. That otherwise you're hanging around waiting for people. We didn't want people to be DBS, because it's a day. They're with me for the whole day, and some of the staff get involved as well in the hostels, so they don't need a DBS. Yeah. So I had to make it interesting and fun enough that they'd want to come again. So I'll go into that a little bit later about how I do that. And then spend the budget on the project. It wasn't about, when I first started, about us making any money. It's about us getting that engagement, getting the money to pay for those items, yeah, and something nice for the project, so it finishes it off. And then the project's more willing to let you come back again, the service. Do you know what I mean? If they get something out of it. If I can make a little bit and it goes into the fundraising pot, absolutely brilliant. But it's not essential, and it never has been. So also, I had to think about risk assessments. Yeah. People are coming into your property, they're using tools and equipment, you know, so everything had to be assessed. But also, we work with vulnerable people. We don't know how they're going to react to people coming into the hostel. So it's about looking at that risk and trying to minimize it. Public liability insurance, you have to have it. I mean, most charities have it anyway. So, but the corporate needs to see it. So you need to have access to that to send it each time. And I do a briefing, and it's a full briefing. It's got a picture of the service on it. It tells them what time to arrive, where they're going to arrive. It's got a map on it, how to get to that hostel. And it's got a basic outline of what their day is going to entail. Also tells them what they need to wear, what they need to bring, yeah, which is just themselves really, and a water bowl. So I buy all of the equipment and materials needed, plus something for the project to complete. I try and make it as simple as possible. So all they're doing is literally turning up. The simpler you make it, the more interested they are, because they don't want to do any hard work. They want you to do that so that they're ready to just come along and enjoy their day. And it does work. So they get the potential to meet residents and staff at the hostels and see what it's like in a homeless hostel. I, on the morning, give a full briefing. I talk about the charity, what we do. I talk about what the service does, because we've got different types of hostels: women only, men only, young people, complex needs, mental health. I talk about that. And I give a brief in on health and safety, safeguarding, and boundaries. And it's really important you do that when you're working with vulnerable people. But again, you have to say these things, but I say it in as fun a way as possible, and kind of say, you know, I'm with you all day, so don't worry, you're not going to be left on your own. Excuse me. Lunch. Now, I tell them to either bring their own packed lunch, or we can order lunch in, like a pizza or something, or go out to a cafe. If we are painting, I prefer to go out, because we're probably painting the only communal area in the hostel. So, you know, we don't want to sit in paint fumes eating a pizza. It's not nice. So, you know, it's best that we go out somewhere for an hour, let the paint dry, and come back. We don't pay for that. That's not part of the money that I asked, the donation that I asked for. So that's something extra, and they know that before. When the company contacts me, I send them a crib sheet telling them all about it. And I will give you a copy of everything that I do. I've already sent it to Mushka, and she can share that with you. So you've got like a guideline. And then we go to the pub after. Now, this is crucial. This is when you can get your hard selling. Yeah. This is when you can talk about payroll giving, about all the challenge events you've got coming up, about, you know, the fundraising events you've got coming up, anything. Yeah. This is where you can get them involved. This is where they'll open up a little bit and chat a little bit more. So it does work. Trust me. Okay, so like I said, I haven't reinvented the wheel in any way, shape, or form. It has worked for us. We've improved our partnerships, as I said at the very, very beginning. But you've asked me so many questions in advance. I think that that's what I'm going to go into next. And then if you have any more questions, I can answer them at the end. So the first question: how do you deal with those companies that don't want to pay for volunteering? Excuse me, one sec. I'm full of cold, so excuse me. Basically, they don't volunteer. I have no time. I send them a crib sheet. It explains exactly why we asked for that donation. If they don't want to pay it, see ya. Yeah, and it works. They come back. How do you limit bureaucracy and the social issue tourism? Now, I don't basically. It's all about that coveted partnership for me. I'm a salesperson. My job is to get as much money as I can for my charity. Yeah. And I do that the best I can. So if I have to bow down a little bit to bring them in, and then they really like us through that engagement, through that corporate volunteer day, and they fundraise 150k for us a year, thanks very much, I'll do it. Yeah, our service users get a much better environment to live in. All day I'm doing my job. I don't care about that, and sorry if you're upset by that, but that's how I feel. How do you get the companies to stick to dates, and not cancel, and the amount of hard work that goes into it, the disappointment, the cancellation? It's the bane of my life. Yeah, completely. And it's really hard. It's the hardest part of the job, because you feel like you've let the service down. You know, you've got all this equipment sitting there at this service, and you've got to try and slot somebody else in, and it's not easy. So what I've learned over the years is I now invoice before the event. So that means if they don't reschedule, and I don't chase them for it anymore, and if they don't reschedule, we've got that money and we've got the equipment, and I'll explain what I do with that equipment in a bit. They've lost their money basically, and that's it. So that, but also I use a system called Calendly. So it's a booking system and it works really well. It means that I've not got that to-ing and fro-ing of emails. Can you do this date? Can you do that date? These are the dates I'm available. It's all on Calendly, yeah? So they can just go in, click, oh yeah, she's free on that date, bang, I'll do that date. They pay £100 deposit, yeah? That holds that date for them. If they then decide they can't make that date, they've got to pay another £100. Thank you very much. That goes in my fundraising pot. Winner. Yeah, that's the way I've been now, because it's their fault that they're changing dates. It's their fault that they're cancelling. So we'll take that. Thank you very much. We do lunch and learns when we get new partners, and I get a 15-minute slot to talk about our corporate volunteer days, and I reiterate there as well about how it affects the service if they cancel. And on the crib sheet that I send, I say it on there as well. So question 4, how do you steer the companies away from usual DIY gardening, team building, and what you actually need market their volunteers to do other things? Okay. So what I say is we reel them in with the team building, because that's what they really want, okay? Get them in with that. And then the corporate partnership manager, because it's all, yeah. So our corporate partnership manager then goes in and he'll talk to them about partnerships, and how their volunteer days could be split. And then we will only offer other volunteering, so skilled, pro bono, events volunteering, all of that, to partners. Any supporters only get offered team building. Yeah. If they want to do more, they need to become a partner. And that's the line that we pull now, and it works. Oh, what does it mean if we're a partner? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, then we might get involved in that then. So again, it works to get that coveted partnership. So number 5, roles and tasks that are not labor intensive to charity. There's no real solution to this. You have to invest your time. So I started off as the corporate partnership coordinator on my own for 3 years. And in that time, I was doing all the account management, the corporate volunteer days, but I could only do 2 a month at the beginning. And then it sort of built up to 1 a week. But it was still really difficult to do that and everything else. But I did it. I don't know how, but I did. Then we got a corporate partnerships manager, and I was then made the corporate engagement manager. So I concentrated on corporate volunteering and engagement. And so then I could do 2 to 3 a week. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And that's how we've built our partnerships and all of our days up. And I'm at a position now that I'm turning companies away. We're looking at how big the company is. Do we want them as a partner? No, not really. They're not big enough. Do you know what I mean? So we're at that stage now where we're turning people away because, and also we have to look at our partners about what they're doing for us on how many days they can have, because I only have those 2 or 3 days a week that I can give, because there's a lot of organisation. So my capacity is already bursting. I'm already waiting for that assistant. Um, that one day I pray that I'll get one. But yeah, so we have to do that as well now. So this is how it's changing because they're so popular. One of our partners books 10 a year. So, you know, I've got another one that books 5. So, you know, I have to go around the partners. So my feeling is if you don't invest in it, it won't grow. So I know it's difficult for smaller charities, and I do understand that. So number 6, what kind of volunteering is most popular with corporates? Simple. Team building, group volunteering all day long. They cannot get enough. Honestly, they're queuing up for them. I don't have enough days in the week to do them. So 7, what you wish you had known then that you know now. So I wish I'd known when I first started that I have what they want and I've made it easy for them. So they really want it. And I wish I'd have known that and been a bit stricter at the beginning when I was juggling so many balls when I was just the corporate partnerships coordinator and people were cancelling. It was devastation. Yeah. I remember those days and it was just like, oh God, all the work that I've done, you know? So yeah, I wish I'd have known that. And also take no prisoners. Tell them what you offer. Yeah. Don't let them dictate to you what they want. You offer this and that's it. Yeah. Don't run around for them because I did it at the beginning and you don't get no favors for it. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely say that. And then definitely here's my Calendly. That has been a godsend for me. I wish I'd known about it. I've only had it for the last 2 years and I wish I'd known about it before because it saved me so much time. So yeah, and this is when I'm available and that's it. They don't tell me what days they're doing. I'm telling them that's when I'm available. So yeah. I think it's really crucial to understand the difference for a volunteer manager between individual volunteering, where you really need to nurture those volunteers because they're doing you a massive favor with their time, yeah, and corporates. It's a business transaction. Remember that, yeah? You've got what they want. Remember that. And that's what I say. And that's what I've learned. So number 8, how do you deal with charities or government, small companies that can't pay? So if it's a government office or a really small company and they don't have funding for volunteer days, then I suggest that they set up a Just Giving page and fundraise, and they do it as a project. And it really works. They love it. I've got quite a few small companies and government offices that get involved with us once a year, and they set up their Just Giving page and they love it. And they always get more than what I'm asking for. So, you know, I asked for £750 for up to 10 volunteers. Any more than that, then the price changes. And they'll always go above that. So you've got more money then for more stuff. Yeah. Or thank you very much goes in the fundraising pot. Yeah. For charities, and I have a couple of charities that I've worked with before, I've never understood since I've been in the charity sector this whole rivalry between charities. I don't get it. You know, I just think, you know, we're all trying to do the same thing. So let's help each other. So I've had a couple of charities approach me, and what I do is, you know, those companies that have cancelled their day and I've got that equipment sitting at my hostel, Yeah, if they don't book it again within a month, then the charity can go and do that day, and all the equipment's sitting there. It's all been paid for. Come along, get to know us. Let's have a nice day together. And what do you do? What skills can we share? Yeah, we had a charity that helps in education. They recently had a day with us, and we talked about what skills they had, what they could offer us. I put them in touch with our education training and employment program, and they've been working together, making videos on how to use a smartphone, how to use the internet for those people that have never used it before. So, you could swap skills. Let's do it. Let's do more of it. So number 9, no or little brand awareness, cold calling companies with volunteer ask. Okay, so as Mushka said to you earlier, LinkedIn, oh my God. So I didn't know how good LinkedIn was when I first started. So I used to put it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Yeah. Every time I did any kind of engagement with companies or volunteering, it went on those 3 platforms. And it was just to shout about it to get more people interested, because I do all the donations and everything as well for the charity, and all the community groups and stuff as well. So anything we do, I stick it up there. Now I don't even bother with the other platforms. It's all about LinkedIn. And luckily LinkedIn have partnered with us, and I've learned so much more about the platform and how to use it in a better way. And they offer to charities, LinkedIn, free coaching sessions on how to use it and get your engagement up. I recommend you do those courses. I've done 3 and they've been really, really helpful to me. And what I learned was, if you connect with companies that you're interested in, if you connect with their CSR and ESG managers, they'll start following you, and they'll see that you're doing them, and they'll start contacting you. And that's how you get your engagement. And it really, really works, trust me. And I really recommend you get on those courses. I have never, ever cold called a company. They've always approached us. We've also got on our website a page dedicated to corporate volunteering and engagement. My name's on it, my email's on it, my phone number's on it, and I'm turning people away constantly at the minute. So I just don't have capacity. I'm booked to the end of the year when we start our Christmas volunteering. So yeah. Other places that I use are sites like Neighbourly, Benevity, Team London as well. So, you could put stuff on there, excuse me, as well, of what you're offering. And they're quite good platforms as well. You get really big companies on there as well. Number 10, excuse me. How can we support corporate volunteers into roles that are more committed and require DBS? What I would say is it's quite difficult, because they've already got full-time jobs. And although a lot of them would like to do more, a lot of the time they don't have the capacity. So I learned this quite quickly when I started. But we don't use volunteers probably like some of you guys anyway. But during the pandemic was when we really needed them. So we wanted like telephone mentors, because lots of isolation and loneliness. So we set up that, and we got DBS checks and everything, and did it for that. But we only offered it to partners. Again, that coveted partnership gets you more volunteering. That's the way we look at it. So that's how we've done it. And I think we're at the end of that. Yeah, so that's all the questions.
Such a trooper, Tara. Thank you so much. Even though you're not well, really appreciate that. I loved all those practical tips. really interesting. Thank you. And I like how you just get straight to the point. And I think everyone is writing down notes about what local pubs to take your volunteers to. It's a very popular insight. I know we have some other questions in the chat box. I know someone asked about how much you charge per volunteer, but you said it's like £750 for up to 10 volunteers. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really difficult because, to be honest, you want more really, but I tried to keep it just below my competitors, because yeah, it's about getting that general engagement. But I only put it up recently, just after the pandemic. It was 500, and we just put it up to 750 because everything's gone up with the cost of living and everything. But we might be putting it up again. But yeah, but any more volunteers, we can take more in some of the hostels, and we've got some allotments. Yeah, we negotiate up from that.
Okay. And then we have another one from Kirstine. Hi, Kirstine. What is your view on companies that link organizations, so like corporate to volunteer opportunities? So I think that, do you use any of those brokerage companies? Or does anyone in this chat have experience using them?
You mean like hands-on and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had quite a bad experience with them.
Okay.
I just find that they're supposed to take the work away from you, but you end up doing all the work yourself anyway. So I didn't see the point of it. I thought they were going to give me more contacts and they wouldn't share any
Oh,
contacts. So I kind of sacked it off and I just do it myself.
okay. And what data do you keep on corporate volunteers?
So we keep stats on obviously how many people are volunteering, how much money's coming in through the volunteering, and that's it. We don't take their names. Obviously the company, we keep the company, how many volunteers. Yeah, that's it. We don't take any more than that.
So do you ask for like feedback after each session? Do they fill out like evaluate? And do you use like SurveyMonkey or anything like that? Or do they
so I use SurveyMonkey and it goes out via Calendly. So after Calendly, so Calendly does it for me. It sends it out after the event.
It's amazing what tech can do to help save you time.
Honestly,
my Volunteero hat on.
Yeah.
Becky wants to know, I really liked what you said about the LinkedIn sessions. I didn't know they do free sessions for because I as a volunteer manager, I never used LinkedIn before. And now I'm seeing so much coming from it. And I think it's definitely like a hidden gem that people don't really know about. So Becky wants to know, for the LinkedIn sessions you attended, are they for personal profiles or organizational pages? So can Becky just sign up from her personal page, or does she have to sign up via her charities page?
No, because I don't have a charity page.
Okay.
I do it through my personal ones. Yeah. So, but we are partnered with them anyway. So I don't know how. So they offered us the free sessions. But yeah, I think they offer them to all charities. I'm pretty sure. And what I'll do is I'll use the contact I've got and I'll speak to them and share it.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah wrote, I know you said you asked for the deposits up front. I assume you need the full amount prior to volunteering to purchase the goods. Do the corporate want to know what you're spending on? So like, do you have to send like invoices afterwards?
Not at all. They've never asked me for that, because they see it all on the day.
Okay.
They help me unload all the boxes and pack everything, so they see exactly what the money's been spent on.
Oh, brilliant. Lorna wrote, our charity supports people with dementia. We fund nurses. That sounds great. How can we offer volunteering when we can't connect them with the beneficiaries of the charity? So Lorna, do you have any like fundraising opportunities or events? Let's see if Lorna has any, can expand on that. Yeah, they do events. Lorna does events, so, but they're not interested. Any wise advice
What,
for that,
nurses though?
Tara?
Is it nurses you're saying?
Yeah, they're funding nurses for dementia.
And they
I
can't
would
get
definitely,
any.
yeah, definitely maybe look at the copy you're putting out, and expand on what your company does. And yeah, definitely maybe go on LinkedIn and reach out to the corporate social responsibility managers, and see if you can have chats with them and see how they can help. But events is usually a popular one, no, Tara?
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
mean like challenge events and stuff, or you on about like auctions and right? Yeah.
I don't know, but I'll definitely put Tara's email afterwards if you want to ask, if you want to follow up on that. I'm sorry, I'm just reading very quickly through it. What if the roles are quite specialized and require training, further checks? I'd be interested to hear more about how you engage with corporate volunteers into these kinds of roles. That's from Anne. I think we touched on that about the DBS checks, but you mentioned that they're always with someone, so
Yeah,
technically,
they're always with me. So yeah, or a member of staff, so they don't need DBS when you're taking a group. As long as you're with them at all times, it's fine. You can get around DBS. Sorry, what was that about? Which question? Who was it from?
that was
Laura.
Anne Mawson. What other roles are quite specialized and require training, further checks? I like Matt's question because I had this in my previous role as a volunteer manager. And I think it's definitely less corporate side and business transaction. But if all your volunteering is done on a regular basis, I think Matt does telephone befriending or one-to-one befriending.
Yeah.
Short or long term, do you find companies who are up for giving their corporate days to their staff in hours for a certain number of weeks? So let's say they have a day of volunteering, could they split it up over, let's say, 8 1-hour sessions,
Yeah.
or things like
That's,
that?
that's what we did. We did exactly that, befriending, telephone befriending
Yeah,
during the pandemic to stop isolation, because there was so many clients in the community that were isolated. Yeah, that's exactly what we did. We cut it down into hours, so they did 2 hours each time they volunteered a week, and that went up to their days. So yeah, it added up to their days.
because you did mention that a lot of, it's a give take relationship, and it's about like building team building. That's what they want out of it. So you're kind of also not selling the team building stuff. And how do they? You probably also can't get money from that, but Matt does need. Everyone needs volunteers and befrienders. Like, how do you approach them, selling it to them, asking if anyone's interested when you don't have the team building aspect to it?
Yeah, it's difficult, I think, because that is what they want. They do want the team building, but you can do team building in other ways. So I've done it recently. So because not everybody's interested in doing DIY and gardening, so we did an International Women's Day where we built pamper packs. So we had a day where we made up the boxes and put nice treats in for the women for International Women's Day. So that was one thing that we did. And then for our sports day, we had 250 service users getting involved in our sports day, and we wanted to give them packs. So we charged the corporates for the day still, and used that money to buy a string bag with a water bottle in it, sweets, a baseball cap, some sun cream, things like that. So you can switch it around whatever your charity provides, or needs. You could do it making food hampers up, or do you know what I mean? Toiletry packs, whatever. So this is what I'm looking at now. I've been doing a few of them. You can make them half days as well instead of a full day, and a lot of corporates are interested in that as well because they can't always give a full day. So that's other options that you can use as well to still, so it's still a team building because they're working together in your service.
That's really interesting. Kirsty from Jerry Green Dog Rescue, which is adorable, rescuing dogs. I mean, I could bet that's a very popular role where she said, I know they pay for materials, but if I was offering a chance to be in the rescue, which they all want, not surprisingly, could I ask for the support in the cost of rescue? So I thought having them giving fundraising for the average cost, but could they maybe say, you know, for the cost, you know, sponsor X amount of dogs for a day, or if you come for a day, put it like
Why
that.
not? If they're going to be there with you, I mean, obviously you can't take that many, can you? I would imagine it's maybe 1 or 2 at a time. So
we can have more in.
Oh, cool.
We're having some corporate volunteers coming in and painting a kennel, and they're paying for all the materials and everything. And there's 9 of those coming in, but that's great. Like once a year we can do that, but then we get all the time that people want to help in the rescue, which does take a lot of time, training. It means a member of staff have got to be with them all the time, so it does cost us money. So I thought if we could say by volunteering a day, you're helping the average cost of a dog rescue, like a rescued dog, so they could perhaps meet, I don't know, Bob the dog and say that they've raised money for other dogs like him.
Yeah,
I think that was a nice enough pull, and then they can celebrate that through their socials as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a real seller as well. You know, everybody wants to rescue a dog, right? Yeah, definitely. Why not? It's just how you package it. So, you know, that's like I say, we're salespeople. Just get your sell on. Just do it. Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, no problem.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No worries.
I think that's a really interesting point, though, is that, you know, when we first chatted, Tara, that was like, I was like, oh, like so taken aback, because coming from a volunteer manager who were like, oh, we need volunteers, and we're like, we people please, and we do anything for our volunteers, and then going to from a volunteer manager to corporate volunteering, it's very different, because you're like, no, I have something that you want, and you're very like business transaction, corporate. So I think it's definitely a jump for our brains to be like, okay, no, we can say no to these people. I do have, when you turn businesses away, do you, because you talk about collaborative work, do you have any other charities in your area that you can say, I don't have the availability, but here's a list of charities? Or
Yeah, I do that. I actually do that. I say, look, we work with these charities and they rely on volunteers. So Felix Project, City Harvest, you know, all those food charities that we rely on. Also, there's a couple of shelters in our area that I recommend, Refuge, you know, places like that. And I say, you know, they rely on volunteers. So approach them, and that I'm sure they'll have something for you. So yeah.
That's brilliant.
Definitely.
Do we have any final questions for Tara just before we close? I think that's it, Tara, and then you can go get your lemsip. You've been talking for a whole hour, so hope you're okay. So yeah, thank you so much everyone that joined us today. Really do appreciate it. Here's our LinkedIn and our emails. I will send a follow-up email with as many resources as possible, with your briefing document, the risk assessment template, and everything on there. And yeah, we will keep you we will keep in touch with our next event as well. We really appreciate you all supporting us with our first Learn and Connect. And thank you so much, Tara. I'm smiling from ear to ear because I thought that was really good practical advice. I think that we all just need to be told how it is rather than wishy-washy. So that's what we get from Tara, don't we?
I do it. I say how it is. Yeah. Sorry if you. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will stay in contact. I will keep you updated with our next events.
All right. Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank
you. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.